In a landmark moment for American law and society, the Supreme Court has issued a unanimous 9-0 decision on a pivotal gun rights case, sending shockwaves through the national conversation and igniting passionate debates across the country. The ruling, announced on October 28, 2025, directly addresses the constitutionality of red flag laws, measures that allow for the temporary confiscation of firearms from individuals deemed dangerous to themselves or others. What's truly remarkable is the complete agreement among all 9 justices, a rare show of unity on such a deeply divisive and emotionally charged issue. This decision now sets a powerful new national standard, compelling every state to re-examine its gun safety laws, red flag procedures, and the due process protections they offer to citizens. The impact of this ruling extends far beyond America's borders, as other countries closely watch how the United States navigates the delicate balance between individual rights and public safety. Importantly, the court did not strike down red flag laws entirely, but instead set a much higher bar for when and how guns can be taken away, emphasizing the need for clear evidence and fair hearings. The central focus is on due process, ensuring that every individual receives fair and transparent legal procedures before their rights or property are restricted or removed. United States versus Jackson will be remembered as a major turning point, challenging both gun rights advocates and gun control supporters to adapt to a new legal landscape and rethink their strategies. Understanding this historic ruling is essential for anyone concerned with American law, liberty, and safety, as it will shape the future of gun policy and constitutional rights for years to come. America's gun rights debate is rooted in the Second Amendment, a single sentence written over 2 centuries ago that has sparked endless discussion and controversy. The words, "a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed," have been interpreted in many ways over the years, but its meaning has evolved, shaped by shifting social attitudes, political movements, and landmark court decisions. For much of American history, the scope of the Second Amendment was debated in legislatures and courts, with states and cities enacting their own gun laws. In 2008, the Supreme Court's Heller decision marked a turning point. The court affirmed for the first time that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to own a gun for self-defense, not just for service in a militia. This ruling reshaped the legal landscape and energized both gun rights advocates and gun control supporters. 2 years later, McDonald versus Chicago extended this right, making it clear that state and local governments must also respect the individual right to bear arms. This decision nationalized the debate, ensuring that the Second Amendment applied everywhere in the country. These rulings shifted the debate from if individuals have gun rights to how far those rights go. The focus turned to the limits of regulation and what restrictions, if any, could be justified under the Constitution. In 2022, the Bruin decision made it even harder for states to justify gun regulations, demanding that any new laws fit within America's historical tradition of firearm regulation. This new test raised the bar for lawmakers and courts alike. This new standard led directly to the challenge in United States versus Jackson, a case that questioned whether certain gun restrictions could survive under the court's stricter interpretation of the Second Amendment. Red flag laws, or extreme risk protection orders, became common after the tragic 2018 Parkland shooting. These laws aim to prevent future tragedies by allowing authorities to temporarily remove firearms from individuals deemed to be in crisis or a danger to themselves or others. But because these laws allowed property seizure based on predictions of future harm, they clashed with the court's renewed focus on due process and historical tradition. Critics argued that such laws risked violating constitutional rights without sufficient evidence or safeguards. The stage was set for a constitutional showdown, as both sides prepared to argue not just about guns, but about the very meaning of rights and responsibilities in a free society. The Jackson case would force the nation to confront the limits of both safety and liberty, challenging Americans to decide how to balance individual freedoms with the collective need for security. The story of United States versus Jackson began in Colorado, when Mark Jackson's family, deeply concerned by his recent behavior and fearing for his safety, decided to take action. Using Colorado's red flag law, a law designed to prevent potential harm by temporarily removing firearms from individuals deemed a risk, they petitioned the court to have Jackson's firearms seized by law enforcement. Jackson, however, wasn't present at the initial hearing. He had no opportunity to speak on his own behalf, or challenge the evidence before his property was taken away. The court made its decision based solely on the family's testimony and the documents submitted, leaving Jackson out of the process entirely. A military veteran, with no criminal record, Jackson believed his constitutional rights had been violated. He argued that the government had denied him due process, the fundamental right to be heard before being deprived of property, and that the seizure of his firearms amounted to an unreasonable search and seizure under the Constitution. His legal team argued that Colorado's process was fundamentally unfair. They claimed the law allowed the state to take away property based on one-sided accusations, without giving the accused a fair chance to respond or defend themselves in court. The case moved quickly through the courts. Initially, a district court sided with the state, upholding the red flag law's procedures. But the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals reversed that decision, ruling that Colorado's process did not meet the constitutional standards required for due process and property rights. The federal government, concerned about the implications for public safety and state authority, appealed the decision. The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case, recognizing its national significance. At the heart of the case was a crucial question: how much due process does the Constitution require before the government can temporarily confiscate firearms under a red flag law? The answer would affect not just Jackson, but potentially millions of Americans. The government argued that requiring a hearing before confiscation could delay urgent action and put the public at risk. They insisted that immediate intervention was sometimes necessary to prevent tragedy. Jackson's lawyers countered that without a pre-confiscation hearing, the law was open to abuse and could be used to target innocent people. They warned that fundamental rights should not be sacrificed, even in the name of safety. The case quickly became a national flashpoint, sparking debate over how to balance urgent safety concerns with the protection of individual rights. News outlets, advocacy groups, and citizens across the country watched closely, knowing the outcome could reshape red flag laws everywhere. The Supreme Court's decision would set a powerful precedent, guiding every state on how to craft and enforce red flag laws while respecting constitutional protections. The stakes were high. The future of red flag laws, the meaning of due process, and the delicate balance between liberty and security in America all hung in the balance. As the nation watched, the highest court in the land prepared to weigh in on one of the most important constitutional questions of our time. How far can the government go to protect public safety without sacrificing the rights and freedoms at the core of American democracy? The Supreme Court's unanimous decision didn't ban red flag laws, but demanded they include strong due process protections. Chief Justice Roberts wrote, "Due process is not a formality. Before the government can take a fundamental right, it must provide notice and a chance to be heard." The court ruled that, except in true emergencies, a gun owner must get a full hearing within 48 hours of confiscation, where they can present evidence and have legal representation. The justices compared this to restraining orders in domestic violence cases, which require swift hearings. The ruling creates a uniform national standard for all states with red flag laws. The decision's power lies in its unanimity. Both conservative and liberal justices agreed that fairness is non-negotiable. The court made clear public safety cannot come at the expense of constitutional rights. A fair process isn't an obstacle to safety, it's essential to justice. This ruling will reshape how red flag laws are written and enforced nationwide. For gun owners, the Jackson decision is a major win for due process. No longer can firearms be taken away on a mere accusation. There must be a swift, fair hearing. The 48-hour rule protects against abuse and ensures gun rights are treated as fundamental, not second class. This also reduces the financial and emotional toll on those wrongly targeted by red flag orders. Red flag laws aren't gone, but they must now be fair, transparent, and fast. Gun owners still have responsibilities, but now enjoy stronger legal protections. The message rights and safety can coexist if the process is just. Lawmakers in 21 states must now revise their red flag laws to meet the Supreme Court's new standard. Special legislative sessions and urgent reforms are underway to ensure compliance with the 48-hour hearing rule. New laws must be built around robust due process from the start, making the legislative process more complex but constitutionally sound. The ruling shifts the political debate. Gun control advocates must address due process, while gun rights supporters can no longer dismiss all red flag laws. States face real costs. Courts and law enforcement need resources to hold emergency hearings and follow new procedures. The decision is a blueprint for future legislation, demanding both safety and fairness. The financial and political challenges are immediate, but so are the opportunities for better laws. The Supreme Court has forced a new, more thoughtful conversation about gun policy. The Jackson ruling deepens America's cultural and political divide over guns. For some, it's a relief, a check on government power, and a victory for individual rights. For others, it's a setback, raising fears that new hurdles will make red flag laws less effective in preventing violence. Politically, the decision is a win for conservatives and a challenge for progressives, reshaping the debate ahead of the 2026 elections. The ruling forces both sides to grapple with questions of trust in family, law enforcement, and the courts. It doesn't answer every question, but insists that fairness and transparency are essential. The national conversation about balancing safety and liberty is far from over. The Jackson case ensured that process, not just policy, will be at the heart of that debate. Legal experts across the spectrum agree. The Supreme Court's unanimity is historic. Professor Lawrence Tribe calls it pro-constitution, not pro-gun or anti-gun, emphasizing the ruling's focus on due process for all. Conservative analyst Jonathan Turley praises the compromise. States can act in emergencies, but must answer quickly in court. Civil liberties groups, including the ACLU, support the new safeguards against abuse. The ruling is seen as a win for civil rights, not just gun rights. Implementation, however, will be a challenge. States must invest in courts and resources to meet the 48-hour rule. Without proper funding, the new protections could falter in practice. The decision's success depends on lawmakers' commitment to both safety and justice. The Jackson case is now a model for responsible lawmaking in a divided nation. The Jackson ruling isn't the end of America's gun debate, it's a new beginning. Citizens must stay informed and engaged as states rewrite their laws, attend town halls, contact lawmakers, and support organizations working for fair, effective policies. The Supreme Court's decision is a call to action for everyone, regardless of where you stand. Understanding the Constitution and the courts is key to shaping a just society. The future of safety and liberty is in our hands, not just the courts. Let's use this moment to build a nation that values both rights and responsibility.